Welcome, friends. I'm Yvonne Davis, author, astrologer, and life transformation coach. And today I have a video that talks about the eclipse season. We are in the middle of two eclipses right now. The new moon eclipse, which happened on Christmas, and then the full moon eclipse, which will happen on January 10th, followed 2 days later by the Pluto-Saturn conjunction, which is a really big deal. So we're in the eclipse window right now, and this is a very important time for, well, I want to say initiating change. To some degree that happens naturally because of the eclipses, but we also have to make choices about what we're going to do to change our lives, to make our lives better. So what I want to focus on, I'd like to do a series of videos while we're in this eclipse window because it's so important, the choices that we make at this time in our lives. And I want to talk about some various things related to the eclipses. And today I just want to focus on the role that the North Node is playing, so and the South Node. So I am going to pull up the chart. This is for the December 2019 new moon eclipse. So we just had, it's still set for Washington, D.C. because I do my political videos, but basically in Washington, D.C. and on the East Coast of the United States, it was exact on December 26th, shortly after midnight. So let's go ahead and look at the configurations, and we see this new moon eclipse at 4 degrees of Capricorn conjunct Jupiter, which is very nice. And then the South Node at 8 degrees. And so I really just want to focus on the South Node right now. We already had the new moon eclipse. We're going to have the full moon eclipse in, 12 days from now. So, so we need to be thinking about this. And I really want to talk about, what does the South Node represent in this eclipse chart and in this eclipse series and in this eclipse window? What does this mean? So to start out, I'll just talk in general about what the South Node means, what it represents, what it indicates. And then we can talk maybe more specifically about the role that it's playing in this particular eclipse season. So the South Node, if you watch other astrologers, sometimes you'll hear them say things like the South Node represents the things we came into this life with. I think that's true in terms of karma, but it also say things that we've mastered. It's our comfort zone. It's where we're comfortable. And I agree with all of that, except I wouldn't use the word mastery, because mastery is something that we work toward, that we strive for, we desire. And when we've completed, it's something we can always keep. And I would put mastery in the second house, because the second house rules personal assets and resources, and it rules what we value. And if we've mastered something, we've mastered it because we value it. And the second house, along with things that we value, that includes ourself, our sense of self-worth, and our personal assets. And that includes our skills and our talents and the things that we have mastered. It is how we access resources. So in my mind, mastery definitely belongs in the second house. Whereas the South Node has the energy that is more like a full moon, which full moons bring completion. It has energy more like Saturn. Saturn is all about constriction and limitation. And it also has the feeling of the 12th house. The 12th house is the house of endings, the house of things we have to let go of and release. And to me, that's how I think about the energy of the South Node. It's like the energy of a full moon. It's like the energy of Saturn. It's like the energy of the 12th house. It is all about things that we need to complete and finish and release and let go of, okay? It's the things that need to be removed from our life because we're done with it. It's karma that needs to be completed and released and let go of. And so on some level, I do agree with the idea of it representing our comfort zone, because the comfort zone in terms of astrology is something that karma will come along and kick us out of, okay? It will eject us from our comfort zone. And so, in a sense, the comfort zone is kind of karmic. It's about things that have become toxic for us. And we know to stay in your comfort zone for too long does not allow you to grow. And when you're not growing, you're dying. And so the comfort zone can become a very toxic place. And so in that sense, the South Node does represent the comfort zone. It is the things we need to be done with, okay? It's the karma we need to complete. We need to finish it. We need to be done with it. And we need to release it out of our lives, okay? So that we can move on and grow. And so when you see this powerful position of the South Node in the mix with the new moon eclipse and the Jupiter conjunction to the new moon eclipse, which is such a powerful new moon eclipse, and then you see the South Node right there. What is that South Node doing there? Well, what it's doing is it is telling us that until we complete our karmic work and release whatever is toxic, we will not be able to fully manifest the promise in the new moon eclipse. And it has a wonderful promise for us with its conjunction to Jupiter. And because it's in an earth sign like Capricorn, it's also going to manifest in a very material way, okay? A very tangible way. So this is a beautiful new moon eclipse, and we want that promise to manifest. So we need to clear out the toxicity. And when I was meditating on the meaning of this particular eclipse, and then thinking ahead to the full moon eclipse, the image that kept coming up for me was like a cyst or a boil, like a cyst that has become infected, and it needs to be lanced. It needs that toxicity, that infection to be able to drain out so that it can be cleansed and clean and healed, okay? When that is done, then the promise of this new moon eclipse will be able to fully manifest. I also got the image of planting a seed, because that's what new moons do. New moons always initiate something new. It's like they plant a seed, and that seed can come to fruition in the full moon. And when it is part of an eclipse is 3 times more powerful than a regular new moon and 3 times more powerful than a regular full moon. And so it takes longer for the manifestation to unfold, but when it does, it's much bigger and much more powerful. And so with this new moon eclipse conjunct Jupiter, it's going to manifest something new. And what we want to do is we want to have some really healthy soil to plant that new moon seed into. So when you plant seeds, you want to have healthy, fertile soil that has been turned, and then you put it in and you pack it in just right, and then you water it and you give it just the right amount of sunshine, and that seed will grow, and it will pull in those nutrients from the soil and from the sun and from the water, and it will grow healthy and strong and beautiful. And that whatever it is, if it's food or if it's a flower or if it's a tree, it will give us nourishment for a long time. All different kinds of nourishment, physical nourishment, soul nourishment. And so we want to plant the seed of the new moon eclipse in that healthy soil. That's why it's so important to clear out the toxicity first. Okay, it's just like when we go in and we till the soil and get that soil and that ground ready to plant the seed so it will grow strong and healthy and beautiful and nourish us. So we need to clear out whatever toxicity is represented by the South Node in our own lives. And the thing is that, you know, since this is a general reading, I can tell you generally what the South Node represents and give you some ideas of how that might show up in your own personal life, but I can't tell you exactly. You know, if I was to look at your chart, I could probably get a clearer picture of what that might look like in your own personal life and how it's landing on your chart. So if you're not seeing anything in your life unusual brought about with this new moon eclipse, then either it's not landing in an important position in your chart, or you're highly evolved, and so the work that you need to do is very minimal, or you're just not paying attention. So I can't tell you which one that is for you. But if you are experiencing some turmoil in your life right now, then you know what that South Node is representing in your life. You know what that toxicity is in your life. You know how it's manifesting in your life. If it's a toxic relationship that needs to be released or healed in some way, or if it's a job situation, or a work situation, a housing situation, a financial situation, anything in your life that is manifesting as toxicity in your life. Maybe it's an addiction. Anything in your life that is manifesting as toxicity and dysfunction, or as an obstacle that's keeping you from creating the life that you want. That's what the South Node is representing in your life. So the other thing I would say is that this kind of thing manifests both internally and externally, but everything is ultimately internal, because our internal state of our being is how things manifest externally. So if we have toxicity within us, it will manifest externally in relationships or toxic work situations, toxic housing situations, or dysfunction. It always starts within, okay? So if you think it's only external, look again. You got to look within and see where that toxicity is residing within you, and therefore manifesting external to you. This is not a blame or shame game, okay? There's nothing here to feel shame about or guilty or blame yourself. That's not what this is about. It's simply understanding that you do have the power to transform yourself and the power to transform your life, but you have to take responsibility first. If you're not willing to see where it starts within you, you will never be able to change your life. You might quit a job, go into another job, and you'll have the same kind of toxic situation or a relationship. Maybe you end a romantic relationship, you get into another relationship, the same kind of toxic, dysfunctional patterns show up again. Because it's really coming from your deep core beliefs about yourself and about life. And that's where you have to really search deeply. And that's why I like the image of the cyst, because the cyst it's in us, you know, that cyst, that toxicity is in us. It's like a woundedness that hasn't been healed yet. And it's also, you can see the external manifestation on the skin, you know, how the boil is there and how it's pussy and infected. And so, and it's ugly. And so if you want to get rid of it, you have to clean it out. You have to release that toxicity. And that doesn't mean releasing it on other people, although sometimes that's the way it happens, you know, because maybe we've just lost it, you know. It's like we've had enough, you know, and we just explode all over other people. Sometimes that's the way it happens, but ultimately something has to happen if you want to manifest the beautiful promise of this new moon eclipse. You've got to find that place of toxicity in your life. And I think you know what it is. Whoever you are watching this video, think you know what that is in your life. If things aren't working, you know what's blocking you. You can first look externally. If you see toxic relationship patterns, like I said, usually they're going to show up as either toxic relationships, dysfunctional relationships, and relationship patterns, work situations, financial situations, housing situations, could be family relationships, friendships, work relationships, romantic relationships. Could also be your body or how you're treating your body or addiction. So there's all kinds of ways it can show up, but it's the thing that's making you sick, basically. It's the thing that's blocking you from having the life that you really want. And you may think it's external, but it's actually internal. So you got to look at that. How are you devaluing yourself in certain situations? How are you toxic with yourself? What are your addictions? And that doesn't have to be like chemical addictions, like drugs, alcohol, or tobacco. It can be food, it can be sex, it can be relationships. You can be addicted to people. You can be addicted to relationship patterns, like the push-pull pattern. And you can actually be attracted to toxic situations and toxic people, like narcissistic, selfish, thoughtless people. You want to fix them, you want to fix the situation, and often it can't be. And yeah, I'm just trying to think about all the different ways that this can manifest. It can also manifest as fear. And I think fundamentally that's what it always is. There's a woundedness and there's a fear, and that's where the block, the obstacle, the toxicity actually comes from. Internally is some deep wounding that has led to fear, that a feeling of unworthiness or something. And that is how it manifests externally through addiction or toxic situations, toxic patterns, dysfunctional patterns. So hopefully I've kind of like given you enough of the I don't know how to say the landscape of how that can manifest, so that you can figure out how that's showing up in your life. And once you see that, and I think you know what it is, if things aren't working in your life, I think you know what it is. You can look at that and you can start to change it, release it, let it go, clean out that toxicity in yourself and in your life, heal those wounds. So I think that's about it for now. And of course, as always, if you have questions, leave them in the comment section. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please subscribe to my channel. And thank you to all my subscribers. And what else? Oh yes, thank you for liking this video and sharing with friends and family and on social media. And thank you for all your sweet comments. And I think that's it. So I will talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.